Touchdown, Alabama, let's get it.
The process, no one can stop this. Hottest show in the streets, I bet you can't top this. Rammer, jammer, yellow hammer, come see how we rock this. Alabama fans the best, there's no way you can top this. Recruiting news and interviews, just sit back and watch this.
Recruiting news and interviews, just sit back and watch this.
The process.
Welcome into the process, Crimson Tide Recruiting. I am Justin Smith, the scouting and recruiting analyst for Touchdown Alabama Magazine. As always, thank you guys so much for joining me today on the process. Unfortunately, we were unable to put out a video on Monday due to some technical difficulties, but the process is back rolling on Touchdown Alabama's YouTube page. Be sure to subscribe to touchdownalabama.com as well as subscribe to Touchdown Alabama's YouTube page to stay updated and stay updated with Alabama football recruiting on the process. Alabama is heading into the early signing period, which begins on December 18th. So Alabama's coaching staff is currently hitting the recruiting trail very hard as they travel around the country to check on some of Alabama's top targets in the 2020 recruiting class from December 1st through December 14th. Alabama's entire coaching staff will have opportunity to check on some of their top targets and some of their commits in the 2020 recruiting class. So that is what Alabama's coaching staff is currently doing this week, trying to rebuild and trying to add on more talent to their current roster. I know that Alabama's head coach Nick Saban spent some time in the state of Alabama yesterday. Got a chance to check on Alabama's four-star linebacker commit Jackson Bryan, as well as check on Alabama's four-star offensive line target and Auburn commit Javion Cohen, who will take an official visit to Alabama on this weekend. I got a chance to catch up with Javion after he conversated with Nick Saban doing his in-home visit. You got to check out that article on touchdownalabama.com. I also put out an article on yesterday breaking down some of the guys who have expressed to me that they are expecting one of Alabama's coaching staff members to visit them this week. So be sure to subscribe to touchdownalabama.com so you can check out that piece. On this episode of the process, I wanted to take a look at Alabama's 2020 recruiting class and basically break down some of the rumors and break down some of the updates that have been going on as far as Alabama with the early signing period officially 3 weeks away. But before I get to that, I am going to hit you guys with some recruitment updates in terms of Alabama's commits fighting for a state championship, as Alabama's four-star athlete commit Christian Story has led Lynette High School to a 1A state championship appearance as they will play in the state championship on Thursday. They will take on Marcel Bible in Auburn in Jordan-Hare Stadium. Alabama's other four-star defensive back commit Brian Branch has also helped lead Sandy Creek High School to another deeper round in the Georgia High School Athletic Association playoffs. So be sure to stay updated with touchdownalabama.com as we will keep you updated on Alabama's commits in the playoffs. Some of their commits did lose and their respective teams did lose on Friday night, including Alabama's five-star quarterback commit Bryce Young, as Matter Day was taken down by St. John Bosco in its championship on Friday. Alabama's four-star wide receiver commit Javon Baker and Alabama's four-star defensive tackle commit Jamil Burrows, who currently lines up for McEachern High School. Those guys were put out on Friday as well, along with Alabama's four-star defensive tackle commit Jameer Latham at Pickens County, who was put off the 1A Alabama High School Athletic Association state playoffs on this past weekend. But with that being said, I wanted to take a look at some of Alabama's recruiting updates, as I said earlier, basically break down some of the rumors and some of the things that are going on as far as Alabama trying to make a strong push in the early signing period. So with that being said, let's get the process started. There's a lot going on in terms of the Alabama recruiting trail and Alabama's recruiting efforts as the football season is officially over. The coaching carousel has begun. A lot of schools have let their head coaches go, which affects recruiting in terms of guys who are currently committed to schools who may have a strong connection to a certain coach and may not feel that that school is in their best interest now that a certain coach has left. So that impacts the recruiting trail, and some schools may have been pushing for a certain guy before the early signing period got closer, but they fell off, or maybe vice versa, where a team hasn't really recruited guys hard, but now that the early signing period is getting closer and they may miss out on some of the guys that they really wanted before him, now they want to make that late push. So a lot of things are going on with the early signing period, officially 3 weeks away, but I want to dive into some of the things that are affecting Alabama's 2020 recruiting class. One of those things is the fact that Alabama's 5-star running back target and the #1 running back in the nation, Zachary Evans, has set his commitment date for Wednesday. He will choose from Alabama, LSU, or most likely Texas A&M. People feel that, there's a lot of talk going around that it's most likely the LSU Tigers. Alabama has hosted Evans for an unofficial visit this season when they hosted him during the weekend where they played the Tennessee Volunteers in Tuscaloosa. That was a 2-day visit, so Alabama was able to have Evans on campus for 2 days, but he has taken official visits to Texas A&M and LSU. LSU looks like the leader at the moment right now, but when you look at Alabama's 2020 recruiting class, the running back spot is still in a good position with commitments from 4-star running backs Wardell Williams and Kyle Edwards. As I said on many occasions, if those were the only 2 running backs that stay committed to Alabama, this class will still be in good shape with those guys at the helm, especially with the talent that Alabama currently has in that backfield. Adding on those 2 guys, I think Alabama will still be in good shape in terms of the running back position in the 2020 recruiting class. It's also going to be a pretty interesting weekend for Alabama on the recruiting trail in Tuscaloosa, as Alabama will host a couple of official visitors this weekend, including Javion Cohen, the Auburn 4-star offensive lineman commit who I talked about earlier. But Alabama will also host a couple of their commits and 4-star defensive back Malachi Moore out of here at Trussville High School in Trussville, Alabama, and also Alabama's 4-star defensive tackle commit Jamarian Latham out of Pickens County High School. So it's going to be interesting for Alabama hosting that group of guys. I think it's going to be good for Alabama to host Latham and Moore on the same weekend that they're hosting Cohen. All 3 of those guys are Alabama products, and all three of them are guys who could relate to being inside the state of Alabama and growing up and knowing the Alabama and Auburn rivalry. So that should be an impact for Alabama in terms of them getting Javion Cohen possibly to add on to the 2020 recruiting class. Moore will go on to play with Cohen in the Alabama-Mississippi All-Star game, so he will have more time to possibly recruit him to join Alabama's 2020 recruiting class as well. So Alabama still is hosting official visitors, although they do not have any more regular season games, but they're still going to host a couple of guys before the early signing period concludes. But it's going to be an even bigger weekend for official visitors for Alabama on the following weekend on December 13th. I'm going to dive into that in a few, but I want to turn my attention also to some of the guys who Alabama is visiting this week. As I said, you guys check out that article that I put out on yesterday to get the specifics, but some of the guys who I've heard that Alabama is visiting this week are guys like 5-star tight end Darnell Washington. His assistant coach David Hill told me that Alabama's coaching staff is expected to visit with him this week. Washington's a 5-star tight end who officially visited Alabama when they took on LSU earlier in the season. So that was a huge weekend to get Washington on campus. So, and I also did an interview with David Hill about what some of the things that made Washington special in the process. Be sure to check that out when you get a chance on a previous episode of The Process. Alabama will also visit some of their commits, guys like Jacquez Robinson, Brian Branch. Alabama safety coach Charles Kelly will visit Branch, and will also visit Christian Story, Alabama's 4-star athlete commit, later on in the week, along with Bryce Young getting a visit from Alabama, most likely during this week. Most of Alabama's commits will possibly see one of Alabama's coaching staff, a member of Alabama's coaching staff this week. As I said, get the specifics on touchdownalabama.com through that article. Alabama's also expected to visit guys like Arion Smith, a 4-star wide receiver out of Lakeland High School in Lakeland, Florida. He has expressed that He has expressed that he is down at Alabama, Georgia, and Florida via Instagram. So he is someone to keep a guy to keep an eye out for. Alabama hosted him during LSU weekend as well. They also hosted another guy in. They also hosted another one of their targets during that weekend who is also expecting a visit from Alabama's coaching staff this weekend. 5-star defensive end Jordan Burch, who I've talked about a ton on the process previously. Alabama, I'm in my mind, I feel that Alabama's defensive line coach Brian Baker will make that trip to check out Alabama's 5-star defensive end target Jordan Burch. I'm pretty sure Nick Saban will most likely make that trip as well, as Jordan Burch is one of the top defensive ends in the 2020 recruiting class. As far as the following week is concerned, when you look at Alabama's 2020 recruiting efforts on December the 13th, the weekend of December 13th, I know that Alabama is expected to host 4-star outside linebacker Philip Webb, who is one of their top outside linebacker targets at the moment. They will also host 4-star athlete Joshua Eden out of Texas during their weekend of December 13th, which is next weekend. I will have more information on the weekend as it gets closer to us, and on another episode of the process on the following week after we see what really happens this week in terms of Alabama on the recruiting trail. But they're going to host some more official visitors on the week of December 13th, as well as visit some of the guys through that week. But I'll have more information on that as the week gets closer and closer. But I really wanted to focus on some of the things that were going on this week as Alabama's coaching staff will continue to hit the trail. Another guy I wanted to hit on before we really close this episode, the process out, is 4-star defensive end Alfred Collins, who took an official visit to Alabama earlier in the season. He is also expecting a visit from Alabama's coaching staff this week. So he's another guy to look out for in terms of Alabama's coaching staff really getting a chance to talk with him doing a home visit. That'll be it for this edition of the process. Thank you guys so much for joining me today on the process on Touchdown Alabama's YouTube page. Be sure to subscribe to touchdownalabama.com. Subscribe to Touchdown Alabama's YouTube page. Pick up a subscription to Touchdown Alabama. As I said, download the Touchdown Alabama app. It is available on all app stores, including the Apple app stores and the Google Play app store. So be sure to download the Touchdown Alabama app. I know you guys have a lot of questions with the early signing period getting closer and closer. So be sure to call into the process at 205-440-3968. Again, that's 205-440-3968. The number is on the bottom. Be sure to call into the process. Leave your recruiting question via voicemail so I can answer it right here on the process, so you can get your question answered with Alabama's 2020 recruiting class, possibly having most of it completed during the early signing period. But thank you guys so much for joining me today on the process. As always, I am Justin Smith, D Scouting Recruiter Analyst for Touchdown Alabama Magazine.
And watch this.